Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Part number 3 with John Brzenk, the goat in the mother fluffing house. John,
Hey, Neil.
you still got plenty to say, mate. We got a lot more to go at you. We really do.
Yeah, you're. Okay, there you are. You were frozen for a second there.
Yeah, I just had that a moment ago with yourself as well. It's been fine up to there, but I don't know. Maybe the Wi-Fi's playing up or something. But as long as it froze me when I was looking, it was my good side.
Looking good, huh?
There you go. It's not many times I look good these days. You know, when I get home now, I go upstairs. You know, if I'm feeling a little bit of romance and I get the wine out, turn the lights down.
Anymore?
Well, mate, I put the lights off the other night, and my missus is like darker, fatty. It's not good. Not a good look. Talking to missus, how's Renee?
She's doing fine. Doing good.
Developing family now, mate. Obviously, the girls have gone out and done their own. Now, everybody's thinking the same.
My two girls have grandchildren, yeah. So we're happy grandparents of 3 kids now, 1 boy, 2 girls. So that's the joy of our life.
Now, how much time are you getting to, like? Because obviously, when joking aside, when your family starts to go nuts like that, it's difficult to train and to focus on arm wrestling and things like that. You got other distractions.
You know how much time I actually put into the sport of arm wrestling. It's not a whole lot. There's always some extra free time. I mean,
just tell everybody. Because for those people, tell everybody how much time you did.
I'm full bore training at twice a week, maybe for an hour's time. If an hour has gone by and the guys are still at the house, I'm throwing them out. So it's it doesn't. You can get a good workout. I get a great workout in less than an hour, so it's not much time. I mean, I don't spend a whole lot of time in the gym. Yeah, I get right to business and work all the angles and go to failure, and then get the hell out of here.
Hey, on the last show, you mentioned Savan had been in touch with us, Seven Matosian. How's he doing? I mean, I see we're mates on Insta and
you don't follow him?
Yeah.
I'm getting all my how to raise kids tips from you, Savan. So it seems like he's doing really well, right?
They're amazing. I've seen his kids doing the static jumps.
Well, that's what I told him. I said, those kids are gonna get hurt. He said, what are you talking about? I said, I'm certain they're gonna twist an ankle one of these times, jumping off buildings and going.
I mean, what a fantastic way to raise your children. Those are.
I would love to be a kid in his house. Yeah, for sure. That's got to be a blast.
And for those of you who don't know who we're talking about, let me give you a little bit of a history lesson here. Savan Matosian, back in the day, along with Bessie, obviously, and Naveed, those guys were the guys that came up with Pullin' John the movie. If you haven't seen Pullin' John the movie about this man, you need to check that out. It is a fabulous piece of work. Absolutely wonderful documentary, and probably a good place to start, John, because so much stuff went on behind the scenes when we were filming that. It was ridiculous. The amount of filming that you did, the genuine journey that you went on, which I feel sort of honoured and privileged to have literally lived through. It was remarkable, mate.
Yeah. I mean, I blame them for keeping me in the sport for an extra 20 years. I mean, I was about ready to quit when they came around and approached me about the documentary, and of course, you know how long it lasted to all the footage that they did. But it was definitely a reason why I stayed in the sport as long as I did, and I have to thank them for that.
You know what would have been cool? If there was like an alternate ending to that, when it ended in the way it ended, and it was quite emotional and quite thought-provoking. But it would have been nice at the end credits, is as they rolled, it just showed the match with Farid.
Oh, right. I came back.
With a fire up you. That was I mean, what a match that was, mate.
Yeah.
What is your favorite match that you've ever been in? Can you even? I mean, that's a lot of matches.
Well, I think you've asked me this before, and what comes to mind is the chill that I got and the excitement that came over me the time that I pulled Denis Saplinkov and Nemiroff in that overall final. You know,
Okay.
the room was just electric, right? I mean,
Okay.
that low ceiling casino, the place was just packed, and it was smoky, and it was just edgy, and you know, this monster that just had the you know, that nobody thought could possibly win, including myself, you know, and then winning that match and have the crowd just explode, just, you know, was really sent chills up my spine.
It was awesome.
So it's very memorable for me. I mean, maybe it wasn't the biggest accomplishment of my career, but definitely, you know, top of the list for exciting outcomes.
Yeah, just that memory that you can't shake, and that's what this thing's all about. At the end of the day, mate. Which would you say is your toughest pull, John? Hardest.
Oh, toughest pull. Oh, I haven't had any really long pulls. I mean, the tough ones are the ones that just last forever, and I don't have that kind of endurance to. But I can't even think off the top of my head.
Larratt matches was
Ferret was right, red line to the very end, and just doing all kinds of crazy things. I don't normally transition that many times from, you know, trying to hook to top, put pressure on the hand, to finishing with the shoulder roll. So yeah, no, that was definitely the full gambit. But yeah, no, there's so many. I mean, I can't even remember any, you know, more of the early matches. If you would ask me, you know, 30 years ago, I'd say, you know, Johnny Walker, Dave Patton, of course. I always feared those guys. Dave in particular, just because he'd put you in such a bad position, and then you'd be, you know, fighting for your life against a 150-pounder, just embarrassed you.
How strong was that man though then? My God, people don't know.
I always hated to pull him because there was just a no-win situation.
It's funny, you look at the modern crop now, and you look at there's been some freaks in this game, mate, over that duration, hasn't there? I mean, Johnny Walker, what a freak, in the nicest possible way. I mean, I'd love to bottle that DNA. That dude was like, oh, what a monster. Nobody knows about him. You speak to people and you say, you know, what about Johnny Walker? And they think you're talking about the fighter from UFC. You know, that man was made to arm wrestle. He was so powerful.
Right. And it's quite amazing to me that no one has emerged like him since him. I mean,
it was
big, long, thick forearms, fingers that were the size of my thumb.
Oh God, it's not everything about it. I mean, you talk about Rob Vigent's like disproportionate for arm wrestling. I mean, he was another guy, wasn't he? Johnny Walker, that guy who's, you know, got sparrow legs, arms are just massive, hands. God,
you're right. Well, Rob probably is the closest to Johnny, but you know, Johnny wasn't any heavier than Rob, but he was thicker.
Yeah, he was just
thicker.
Wasn't he? Just an absolute lump. And you spoke about Dave Patton. I'm not sure there's ever been a fiercer competitor than Patton in his heyday.
Yeah. No, he's the one that kind of launched me in the direction that I eventually became. Early years, I got a chance to go out there and live close to Dave and train with Dave and understand the sport, and you know, and what a opportunity for me at the age that I was to be able to train with, in my mind, and possibly the truth, that he was the best in the country. I mean, just incredible arm wrestler, incredible work ethic, and just his approach was just just great.
You know what's sad story for you, really? I saw Dave actually the year I won the world title for the first time, the WAF world title. We were in Italy, La Fregata, and great tournament. So many top pullers there. Obviously, you had the top end Russians, Ukrainians, Georgians all there pulling. I remember I was bristling. So many mega guys, and I always used to get the excitement from that kind of tournament. I liked it when it was thick and deep. You had, you know, a lot of beasts in there, and it was a little bit like, we have a horse race called the Grand National in England, and it's not just finishing the race, it's getting over the fences. You know what I mean? There's so many kills in one place. It's just murderer's row. And I remember looking at Dave, and he was sat there, and he was humble and unsure of himself. And it was a shame, because the guy that I'd seen arm wrestle when I was out in the States at the Yukons. I'd seen arm wrestle in Houston, in some of the big tournaments. A million miles from that guy. You know what I mean? And everybody was just walking past him, didn't have a clue who he was, really. It was shocking, really. It was a great shame, because I felt like putting up a sign behind him saying, you know what that is?
Right.
Because to me, really,
yeah.
I'm like, you know.
Even in his best form, though, funny you should mention that. Even in his best form, he never was aggressive. Never seemed to have that kind of confidence. He would always lean on the side of being super, super careful. It could have been some 90-pound girl that he was arm wrestling, and he wouldn't give that girl any.
Mate, that mother with the warm up.
He'd walk away from the table like, David, what? I mean, you're 10 times that guy. I mean, why? He just, his mindset was always, do everything and make sure that there was just no possible way that you could possibly ever have a chance to beat me. He would never take chances, is what I'm trying to say. Else. I mean, he was just,
But yeah, it's interesting. You look back at the game and some of the characters that have been in there. I mean, obviously the ones that are better known, but if you look at through that whole expansive time period, who do you think, if you could point to someone who was your nemesis, who was the hardest guy consistently that you've ever faced?
Well, in the early years, just because he was in my weight class, it was Johnny, of course. I mean, that's an easy answer. Dave was probably better than Johnny, but I never had to really face him because he was such a lightweight, unless he got really, he wanted to pull up classes, and then I hated that. I mean, so Johnny for sure was my biggest challenge in my own weight class. Sure, there was the super heavyweights, the Cleaves and I didn't have to mess with those guys unless I wanted to. The Scott Nortons, Richard Lupke's, later on, Gary Goodrich. But Johnny still stands out as, the guy that was, and really looking back, I mean, after '86, I don't think I lost to him, but he still had, my full respect. I mean, he was the guy, and he was the guy in the room that I would always be looking at, across the room. I knew it was going to come down to him and I. I mean, even many years, after that, he continued to compete. But for sure it was Johnny. Yeah, Ron Bath was a close second. But Johnny had that explosiveness that if you weren't completely awake and aware, that he was gonna pin you quick.
You spoke about Ron. Ron's another guy that, if you'd never existed, Ron Bath's in the argument for the greatest heavyweight of the era, isn't he? I mean, light heavyweight. I mean, that's an extraordinarily consistent individual.
Yeah. I don't. He's about the best there is. I don't know if he dabbled much in the super heavyweight classes. I mean, I would have loved to have seen him pull someone like Cleve Dean. I'm not sure if he's ever pulled Cleve or the likes of Lucas and some of the other heavyweights. He normally stayed in the light heavyweight class. But Ron just a little thinner version than Johnny. Yeah, always tough competitor though. He got that shoulder roll. Got behind his arm a little bit, you knew you were in trouble. If you let him do that, then you were done.
It's an interesting story for you also. Thunder Bay, Canada, 1998, right? I'll never forget that unbelievably difficult tournament. I think round one, I had a screaming, career-ending death war with Yoshinobu Kanai. And then later on in the day, I had another one with Bill Sinks. And I remember the chat around the room that day was all around the fact that Ron Bath was pulling for the States. And I was sort of like, oh, here we go. Can't wait for this. And the top hitter for Russia that day was, do you remember Ibragimov?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I pulled him in Japan, yeah.
Yeah, Ibragimov was on fire, He was looking rock solid. with that huge back. You know, he had that big green turtle back on him. And he pulled Ron. And Ron just absolutely decimated the man.
To shut him down. Yeah.
Oh my God! You know,
Yeah.
you know when somebody ruins you in a way that's like it's not even close. You know what?
Yeah.
Just that he hit into Ron and Ron just swallowed his ass.
Right.
And I remember, and the room, it was just like everybody was like, "What the?" You know, everybody knew he'd brag him up. That was the match. Everybody just is so anticlimactic because Ron was so dominant. On that day, I remember thinking, Ron Bath's a bad man.
What was the tournament? It was a qualifier. Yukon Jack, maybe the day before they had a qualifier for the finals, and Ron hadn't qualified yet, and Sharon Ramez came out when Sharon was the big deal, and I remember being in that room and Ron just shut him down.
Yeah,
put a big old smile on my face because I didn't know what to expect from Sharon. I was like,
yeah,
I'm hoping Ron can do something with this guy. I mean, he comes over here and he's gonna cause all kinds of havoc, and Ron took care of him.
The thing was with Ron, he was like, if you designed a man to deal with Remez, it would be Bath because that length of arm, like you say, extraordinarily long arm, big hand,
strong hand,
strong to the side, so complete. He could shut you down on the hand and wrist, but move to the side so comfortably, any position. Sharon was all wrist and hand. His wrist was, biblical.
Right. Kind of like Arson,
very
posting style.
Not as fat. He didn't have the speed. He was more. He was more of a pronating top. Yeah, he had it all, but he didn't have that explosivity of Arson. He just had that natural genetic, almost like blacksmith strength. Yeah, Remez was an animal, no doubt about it. I remember, when I was most impressed with Sharon was probably Bercy Stadium, Paris. You remember that where you pulled Gary?
Yeah.
Gary was getting the big old elbow. Yeah. Holy shit.
Did he ended up pulling Gary for the finals, didn't he? Or I'm trying to remember how that all went down. I remember Cobra being in that mix. And
Cobra was in there with Cecchini in the final.
Oh, maybe I pulled Cobra and then Sharon got beat by Gary. That's why I never did.
That's exactly why. Yeah,
that's exactly why.
Exactly what happened. Gary beat Sharon pretty handily actually, and then you were in a resting position on the underside on the bit resting in the hole.
I had
pumping on you, and then big looping elbow fouls.
Yeah,
nothing called. Yeah, interesting stuff, man. That was good. Yeah, back in the when we used to ride into the stadium on Harley Davidsons.
Right.
Cool, wasn't it?
They were offering some extra money to the most flamboyant arm wrestlers, so everybody was dressing up and doing all kinds of crazy antics. Yeah,
I was talking about that the other day. Locke of WAL fame now. I was only a baby, and Nancy Locke had #1 on her ass, on the cheek of her ass. Left a lasting impression. That one didn't sleep on my front for 2 months. Another story. But anyway, getting back to what we were saying earlier on, mate. If you look at the hardest matches you've had there, one guy that I've seen you in some real screamers with is Larratt. It's funny because Jerry being problematic for Michael, and he is, but Jerry's a handful.
Yeah, I to be honest, I don't even really remember my history with Jerry. I know I pulled him a bunch of times, but he I mean, the most memorable match for me is, he just ruined my arm at the
UAL, Venice
Beach. And I mean, that was just, tendons were tearing and ligaments were stretching, and try to make that transition with him at that particular tournament. So that's my biggest memory with Jerry. That
wasn't dissimilar to the Michael Todd match look, was it? Is it very, very similar?
Yeah, no, I could completely relate with what Michael was going through with Jerry. I mean, anytime Jerry pulls anybody that's in that position, I automatically relate to it completely. You feel like you got the world, and you just can't make that transition to turn into him and push through that press he has. And you would think it'd be possible, but it just doesn't happen. Never
and he's
feels
so
comfortable.
Jerry's so
so
aggressive
low.
into that one spot, isn't he? I mean, I remember I pulled him at the King of the Hill in Tahoe. And the first start, I actually thought I pinned him, but I didn't pay Dave Hicks enough. And Dave put us in the strap in the second start. And I was actually, I was confident, overconfident. I thought, oh, I've got this. Because off the first start, I took his wrist, got him very, very close. And then they put the strap on. And I put a lot of top end into that man that day. And he moved maybe an inch at best and then just dropped. Felt like somebody dropped a train in my arm. It's horrible. The only guy, I'm going to say the only guy that I've ever felt like that from was Pushka. That same horrific side press. You just very direct and almost towards.
Yeah. You feel like you're in the match when Jerry does it to you. You've got so much leverage advantage. You got his hand and wrist and his flop, and you think there's no way this guy's gonna possibly beat me like this. Pushkar, he's all hand. I mean, he completely took everything away from you as he's crushing you to the side.
Aggression to the side, just that aggressive, almost Route 1 arm wrestling. You know, where he's like looking at a spot and it's going there, whether or not you like it, and he doesn't care what it takes with him.
Right.
It's a horrible position to be in. But do you think? Do you believe in the scenario that Michael put out there about the strap being the difference with Jerry in that match, though? Do you think the thicker strap's going to make a world of difference to that match?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, he's still gonna. You got to deal with Jerry off the top. I mean, you got to move him off center on your side of the table. If you let him get that angle, I don't care how it's tied. I think you're going to have a hard time, transitioning through that. I didn't hear the interview. Michael thinks that the wider strap would be to his advantage.
Michael's position on it, which I do tend to, think to myself, yeah, that could be a thing. He's damaged the bones in his hand a couple of times. The last 2 times the guys have met in those career-ending death wars that they've had, and he feels like the strap was too thin, so it was cutting into his hand and damaging the bones. And Mike's a pretty straight guy in that respect. He'll usually tell you how it is. Now, he is absolutely convinced that if those guys pull again, it will be night and day in a thicker strap.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't see that's where I don't see, when watching the match, I didn't see that as being his failure. I felt like his angle was failing him enough where he didn't have the shoulder to be able to push through it with his arm still, at the angle that it was at. His post is there. I mean, all that pressure should be on the lower part of the strap, not on his hand. But he needs. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer for Jerry. Excuse me.
Sorry, you finished the point you were going to make there.
Well, I was just saying for Jerry, you have to, I mean, he's so intimidating, he's so big, and he's so strong, and he looks like he's going to come across with this massive press, but you have to have the belief in yourself that you need to hit that man in the wrist and get it, even if it fails, you need to at least test that. It's a much easier road than trying to run away from him and get that advantage, typical advantage that would work for 99% of the arm wrestlers. That's just false with Jerry. I mean, it's just the bad choice. You have to make that commitment to hit him across the table, wrist straight, not maybe necessarily a hook, but almost a posting coming across and knock him off center. Let him get that angle, and it's a nightmare. So that's.
Who do you think is a tougher match for Michael? Devon Larratt or Jerry?
Jerry. For sure, Jerry. Yeah, no, all day it's going to be Jerry.
Do you think Devon's swimming upstream a little bit with 601? Do you think he can? You think he can do anything?
I don't know. Michael looks so impressive against Dave Chafee. I know Devon says that he's stronger than ever and he's got it somewhat figured out, but I mean, Devon has shown that he's vulnerable, especially with the side pressure in the hits. Obviously he's pulled 2 monsters in Todd Hutchins and Jerry, or even Chafee for that matter. So I mean, it's hard for him to maintain that angle. So Michael looks so impressive with Dave with his back pressure and protecting his hand.
if I'm a betting man, I don't see Devon, pulling it off, but we'll see. You need a tremendous amount of cupping ability. Levon, I think, will take care of Michael Todd.
I think you'll get bets out there right now on that, because there's a lot of chatter about it, about Levon and Mike. You got takers on either side. So yeah, I think when you're out at the top 895, you get talking around that. Some bets out.
Even Prudnick has that ability with the hand strength to maybe shut down and turn Michael's palm upward. I mean, you just have to have a tremendous amount of cupping ability to be able to deal with Mike's posting back pressure. And it's not even you can't even call it a King's move anymore. He was legit just straight up angle arm wrestling, standing up against Chafee and just out back pressured him. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, so very impressed with what he's been able to do as of lately.
Mate, I've had you on here for another 25 minutes. I want to say thanks for joining us, buddy. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's always nice to catch up with you, mate. And we talked about it before we came on. We're going to see a lot more of you on the channel. So
all right,
tune in and check out John on here, guys. Supernatural Strength. If you do like what you see, if you like this stuff, please like, share, subscribe, and we will be back with more from the GOAT, from John Brzenk, and from others like him very soon. John, cheers, brother.
Neil, it's always a pleasure. Call anytime.
Thanks,
Take
mate.
care.